Rock stars, welcome to day 2 of the crash course in music theory. I'm so glad that you are here. We are going to have a blast. We had a blast yesterday. We're doing this every day this week from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. And essentially what we're doing here is I'm showing you how music works, right? Music theory. It's a dirty word for some people. They're frightened of it. But friends, if you can count from 1 to 7, you're fine. All right? I promise you, this is super easy stuff. The way that I teach it, anybody could get this. And the stuff that I'm going to be showing you is only the stuff that you need to know. We're leaving out everything that you don't need to know for many years or possibly never. Okay? I say it all the time, Pareto's rule, right? If you learn the right 20% of the stuff, you can yield 80% of the gains, as opposed to flip-flopping the other two, which I see people do a lot. Literally, I got a message from someone this morning. If they're watching right now, I'm sorry, I'm not singling you out. I won't say your name. But basically, they were like, could you please tell me the diminished scale of the minor scale? And they were asking other crazy questions like that number one, didn't make any sense, but number two, let me know that they were going down the wrong alley, right? You know, there's some certain places you don't want to go downtown. And a lot of musicians, sometimes they'll say, yeah, but what's down there? Because they think there's going to be a pot of gold at the end of it. And usually it's not. It's just a bunch of frustration. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to only be showing you the stuff that you need to know this week, okay? We're leaving out all the other stuff that you don't need to know. But I'll say that everything that I'm showing you this week will help you to go into all those other areas. Like if you wanted to get into jazz modes, et cetera, et cetera. Now we'll talk a little bit about that this week as it applies to the major scale. But yesterday, let's do a little revision here, okay? What did we do yesterday? Where are we going to go today? And then where are we going forward? Cool? All right, let's do that. So what we talked about yesterday is we talked about the notes on the fretboard, the names of the open strings, the protocol for naming the notes going up the fretboard. We said that all the pros in the world they don't have these memorized. And I told you why it is that they don't have these memorized. And I gave proof that they don't have these memorized. They're using association just like anything else. You don't have the numbers 1 through 1,000 memorized. You didn't sit down and memorize them, and then some days you were getting them in the wrong order. You have a protocol for doing this, and music theory works the same way. Knowing the notes on the fretboard works the same way. I also showed you a bunch of springboards. Springboards are areas of the guitar that you can easily say, I know what that note is because of something else. You're associating it to something else. Those springboards were the 12th fret, right? We needed to know the open position. So we got the open position, the 12th fret, the 5th fret, the 17th fret, and then we had our movable springboards in the case of octaves. So 6th and 5th string, we go down 2, up 2, and in the case of strings 4 and 3, we go down 2, up 3. If some of this is going over your head, just watch the review from yesterday, or better yet, get inside the Unstoppable Guitar System Standard, which I have for free for you guys today, link 3 below. Or if you're watching on Twitch or any of the other places that we're streaming this, and if the link's not in there, because we're still working on those streams right now, we're just getting acquainted with them and what have you. If they're not in there, you can always go to YourGuitarSage.com/30. So Instagram's in the house, Facebook and YouTube are in the house, Twitch, and any others, Emmy?
And Instagram, and that's it for today, but more to come tomorrow.
Okay, more to come tomorrow, but literally there's like 5, okay? Okay, let's see. We talked about the notes on the fretboard. We talked about the major scale, right? I know we talked about some other bits, but nonetheless, those were the main ones. The major scale, we were able to create that all over the fretboard, whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. We talked about intervals, a little bit about intervals. We did definitions, right? Okay, so that brings us up to today, where today what I'm going to cover with you is intervals, the names of the intervals, and why it might be good to know the intervals. What is an interval, Eric? An interval is the distance between two notes. It's actually a distance of space between two notes, not a distance of time, at least as we're talking about it in regards to notes. An interval is a distance. So if we're going from one fret to the next, that's called a half step. That's an interval of a half step. Or if we're going from 2 to 4, that's an interval of a whole step. Okay, so we're going to talk about intervals today. We're going to talk about using the capo. right? I know there's somebody out there going, wow, what's there to know? You clip it on your guitar. Right, I know. I literally just answered someone on YouTube who said, you just clip it on your guitar. Yeah, I have a 10-minute video on just clipping this on your guitar. I mean, I know I can talk a lot, but that would be hard to do, right? So no, what I said to them is, that's fine. Do you know what key you're in if we do this, that, and the other thing? I hadn't heard back from them. But nonetheless, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be showing you how we might use our capo for finding different feels on the guitar. So like if you love the feel of G major, where there's G and C and D, E minor, A minor, I'm going to show you how to take your capo and put any song that you experience in that key or that feel with the capo. We could also do this for C or any other key, and I'm going to show you how to do that today, okay? We're going to talk about basic rhythms, quarter notes, half notes, whole notes, eighths, sixteenths, triplets, all that good stuff, dotted. If I forget the dotted, you can remind me. We're going to talk about building chords using inversions, okay? So we'll talk a little bit about chords, and we'll talk a little bit about building chords just from kind of some broad strokes. We might spend about 10 minutes on that. And then going forward, okay, so that's all today, four-ish things. And then on Wednesday, we're going to talk about the number system and how that relates to all the caged bar concepts. So the cage system plus bar chord concepts, that's on Thursday. Friday, we're going to talk about scales over chords. Like, what does that look like? What do we need to know to do that? To play in a specific key, okay? All right. And then we're also going to talk about some, we may do that today, and we may do that throughout this week. But I'm going to talk about some other fretboard hacks. In fact, I was going to write it down somewhere. Just remind me if I just put it in the chat there somewhere if I forget fretboard hacks. Also, friends, please keep me up to date on as we hit how many people are coming into the chat, right? Because yesterday we hit 800 thanks to you guys because you shared this video, and I really appreciate that. So please, if you haven't already, please share this video. If you're on Instagram, if you're on Facebook, if you're on YouTube, please share that. That's a way for you to say, thank you, Eric, okay? Other ways folks are doing that is they're doing that with donations. The bottom left-hand corner of the screen on YouTube, there's a little smiley face and then a dollar symbol. If you click that, you can donate. Love the donations. We really appreciate that. Help keep the lights on and all the rest here. And then we also have a PayPal button or PayPal link that you could hit on the other platforms, okay? And I think in YouTube as well. But yeah, let me know when we're going up to 600, 700, 800, 10,000. Please let me know. We actually, on all the platforms yesterday, went to 1,000. That was pretty cool. Eric, why are those numbers so important to you? Well, for the same reason that I could still be teaching one-on-one, or I could be reaching out to many people. So the more people, the better, because that lets me know, hey, I'm reaching more people. I'm helping more people. And that's what I'm here to do, right? Why wouldn't I want to help as many beings as possible? I talked about this a little bit yesterday, okay? All right, if you haven't already, please give this video a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button and the notification bell. And, of course, share this video. Okay. Nice, here we go. And we will be getting to questions as well. But let me do this. If you would, save your typing. You can talk amongst each other. Him, thank you so much for the donation, brother. So kind. Save your questions. You can talk amongst yourselves right now. Emily maybe says, yes, please help me. I suck. Emily, you're in good company because every player here at the beginning sucked. And coincidentally, not coincidentally, every guitar player, every pro guitar player that you love, Stevie Ray Vaughan, Eddie Van Halen, Jimi Hendrix, they all sucked at first. At first, they all sucked. So we're in good company. We're literally walking in their footsteps, okay? But with practice, you will get better with the right knowledge and the step-by-step progression as I teach it in the free course that I give you today, YourGuitarSage.com/30, third link below. This is absolutely going to help you. It's going to help unsuck you. How about that, okay? Okay, I think that's everything. Save your questions for after the lesson because I won't see them right now. Cool? But do have them ready. Have them prepared, okay? Here we go. Let's talk about intervals first off. So yesterday we said the distance. Do we have a Zoom camera up today, Em?
We do.
We do. Yay. Okay, our Zoom was out yesterday. Beautiful. Thank you so much, Em. Yeah, let's use that. Here we go. So let's talk about the intervals. So an interval distance is the distance between two notes. So, for instance, Michael, thank you so much for the donation, brother. So if I'm here at the 3rd fret, right? There at the 3rd fret, and I go up a half step, that is a half step interval. If I go from here to here, that's 2 half steps, also known as a whole step or a W, right? H for half and W for whole. Mike, thank you, bud. You are amazing. Thank you for your support for the vets. Ah, so beautiful, Mike. Ostel, thank you, brother. So kind. So we have that, right? Half steps and whole steps. And then from there would be like, 1.5 steps, 2 whole steps, 2.5 steps, 3 steps, etc. But what we want to do is we want to think about the interval names as they are compared to the major scale, okay, and the specific notes that they represent, okay? So watch this. Here's the major scale, right? This is G major scale. So we got Do, Re, Mi, Fa, Sol, La, Ti, Do, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. Hold on, Eric. What do all those numbers mean? Friends, it's just like walking up the stairs. It's literally that easy. Bum, 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 bum. That's what they represent. Don't overanalyze this. Cool? All right, so we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. Now, we can literally name these notes according to the number, as we've done here, but they also have other specific names. And I'll just say them outright, and then I'll teach you this method for learning this. It's super easy, okay? So this is called a unison. Just think of it like a unicorn. Uni meaning one, right? This is the major 2. This is the major 3. Perfect 4th. Perfect 5th. Major 6th. Major 7th. And then our 8th note is called the octave. Octave, right? Think about an octopus. It's got 8 arms, so boom, right? Super easy to remember that. Or Octomom. She had 8 kids, and I think she had 9. Or more, maybe, possibly. I don't know. But oct means 8. Cool? All right. So easy to know. We know the unison and the octave. Those are our bookends because they're the same note by name. Both G's in this case. If we were in the key of A, they would both be A's, and so on and so forth. Make sense? Indeed, sucking is a relative term. Avoid comparing yourself. This was automatically taken out from YouTube. There, sucking is a relative term. Avoid comparing yourself, the suckiness of others. Record yourself and review. 100%. That caught my attention. I had to say something about that because that is so true, friends. Oftentimes you will use comparisons. I see it all the time with guitar. I see it with everything else in life. But let's just talk about guitar for a minute. Try to avoid comparing yourself to others because it's not a very good measurement because you don't know what they did to get where they're at and how long they spent, et cetera, and you're judging yourself in a way that's really, really, really not very good. So if you can free yourself of that and allow yourself to just learn step by step, put all that frustrated energy into focus, into practice, you will dominate this instrument. Literally dominate the instrument. But if you're always getting frustrated, comparing, etc., you will always suck at it. It is true. That is true. So don't do that, okay? Okay, so unison, major 2, major 3, perfect 4, perfect 5, major 6, major 7, and our octave, okay? Now let's take a look at this for 1 second here, what this might look like on my little whiteboard here, okay? This is the major scale, right? We got at the top there, we have whole step, half step, whole, half, right? And notice the numbers of the scale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then another half step to 8, which would be 1 again, okay? So literally when we go up the scale, we're going whole step, half, whole, half. I mentioned this to you yesterday, that a half step is the distance between one fret and the next, okay? And whole step is 2 half steps. So if we take this pattern, we literally can start from any note on the fretboard, any note whatsoever, and get our major scale, okay? Any. And we will refer back to this a little bit later. Now, we've got our bookends, 1 and 8. This is the part of the program where I teach you the intervals, and I promise you that if you're paying attention, if you're sitting there flipping around on your phone right now and doing other things like that, then good luck. But for those that are paying attention, you're going to get this, okay? So, think about bookends, right? Those things that keep the books in place. We have the 1, we got the 8, we got the unison, we got the octave. You guys have that. Uni, 1, oct, 8, octopus, you get it, right? Those are the bookends. They're the same notes. So we got that. Everything in between is the rest of the scale. Now this is called the major scale that we're talking about, right? Yes. Thank you so much for getting that right. Because it's the major scale, we use a lot of major intervals in it. And so, the 3rd is major, the 6 is major, and the 7 is major. Okay? Now, try to avoid asking why these notes are perfect, because I'm going to talk about them in just a minute, but I'm going to give you a basic idea as to why they are perfect. Steve, mahalo, brother. Thank you so much for the super kind donation, and indeed, mahalo. I just told my wife the other day, I said, another place to add to where I would retire is Hawaii. I would like to live in Hawaii. Done. Okay? So, if you're in Hawaii, we could be neighbors. We got our bookends there, right? The 3rd, the 6th, and the 7th are major intervals. The 4 and the 5, which are right smack dab in the middle, guess what? Guess what they are? Perfect. Why is that? Well, I'm going to show you. Now, Em, can I get one of those erasers? We have Emmy's running the entire show today. She's a rock star. Thank you, Em. She's running the entire show today. And thank you to Michael for getting some stuff set up for us ahead of time here. Okay, so we got our 1, right? It's called the unison. I'll do this all in green. How about that? And we got our octave here. You can almost think about this like going up and down. So we have I'm going to do this another way. So we have our 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? Yes. Correct? Yes, you're correct. Yep. But we also have notes that are in between here. So what's up with that? Well, let's talk about it. Remember that if we have whole step, half step, whole, half, then, I don't know why I erased all that, but I just redid it over. If we have that, then we have notes that are in between, right? Because if this is a whole step, then we got a note that's in between there, right? Cool? Yeah. So, I'm going to put little marks inside of those areas where there are whole steps. So you can see there's a whole step here, so we're going to draw a little line down here. Any place there's a whole step, that means there's a fret in between the two, right? Because we got this note, and we got this note, so there's a note in between for those whole step bits, okay? So we're going to do that, and then we're going to name things. So this first one is called unison, and the last one over here we said was called the octave. Okay. Now we said the 3, or we said the 2, the 3. I didn't say the 2 before, but the 2, the 3, the 6, and the 7 are major intervals. Okay. Now notice something. We're coming from the outside, right? We have these bookends, and we're coming in this way, and so our bookends are octave and unison. Now watch this, because if you're not paying attention, you're going to miss it, and it's going to make this so frickin' easy. So flippin' easy. All right? Tic-tac-toe is an easy game, but if no one ever showed it to you, you're going to have a problem with it. Okay? Pay attention. Watch this. 2 and 3, 6 and 7. Do you see that those are the 2 numbers coming in from the bookends here, right? 2 and 3, 6 and 7, right? Watch. These are major intervals. So I'm going to say this is a major 2. I'm going to say this is a major 3. The 6 is a major 6. The 7's a major 7. I promise that when you're done with this, you will have this absolutely memorized. And that's a big deal, okay? But you do have to focus on this. Bookends, boom, unison, octave. Go 2 in this way, come 2 in this way, major intervals. Super easy. Major 2, major 3, major 6, major 7. Got it? Perfect. Now, the 2 guys in the middle are perfect. Why? Why do they call those perfect, Eric? Well, here's a perfect 4, which is named P4 and P5. Why are they perfect? Because it's just a name that was given to them because they're a very consonant, a very harmonic, very balanced, a very, how could we say it? There's so many different ways we could say it. It's very balanced, okay? As opposed to one of these other notes that are on the side here. They're not as balanced as this when we're talking about sonically, okay? Make sense? Thank you so much, Em. Yeah, I know, right? Thank you so much. That would work better. Yeah. All right, so you guys can see that, though, pretty good, yeah? Okay. If not, it's in the free program I'm giving you, and it's a lot more detailed. I'll tell you what it looks like. What program are you giving us, Eric? I'm giving you the Unstoppable Guitar System Standard, which is the top 30-ish lessons that I teach all my students. Friends, if you're not in that, you've heard me say it before, you're missing out on the quan of guitar. You literally are missing out on it. You gotta be in there. Well, hell, son, where did I put it? Okay, well, it's not here. Okay, well, nonetheless, it's a really pretty PDF, and you'll want to have it. And it's inside the Unstoppable Guitar System. You get it for free. So, the perfect 4th, perfect 5th are the guys in the middle. Now, before we drill down even further, let's review. Bookends, unison and octave. Unicorn, octopus. 1, 8. You got that, right? Those are the bookends. We're coming in from here. 2 and 3 are major. We're coming in from here. 6 and 5, or 7 and 6 are major. Easy enough. You got that, okay? Super easy. Now, the 2 guys in the middle, 4 and 5, think about it. They're balanced. That's how to remember this. They're balanced. They're in the middle. So let's say they're perfect. Don't worry about the name. Don't friggin' get confused about that, okay? Now, let's go on and name these other intervals. Now, if this is a major 2, okay? If this is a major 2, if this is a major 2, what do you think this note might be called? This is a major 2. What do you think this note might be called? Because this is going to be your answer for 2, 3, 6, and 7. Any guesses, anybody? Major is bigger. You got a major problem. It's big. You got a minor problem. It's small. I'm giving you the hint right there. What do you think? It's minor. Good. No one wrote it down. Perfect. Okay. That's all right. Here we go. Watch. So the major 2, one note behind it is a minor 2. Boom. Okay? One note behind the major 3 is a minor 3. Boom. One note behind the major 6 is a minor 6. Boom. This is super easy. Make sense? One note behind the major 7 is a minor 7. We're at 7. Are we at 700, Sal? Thank you for letting me know. Okay. Minor 7th. We may have more of a lag than I'm thinking because now I'm seeing everybody say minor and minor 2. I apologize. I knew you guys are smarter than this. So, yeah, we must have a bigger lag today.
It's
So
about 30 seconds.
it's about 30 seconds? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, normally we're doing some cool stuff here and there's a little bit of a lag. So, okay. Makes sense? Guess what, guys? You know 11 of the 12 intervals now, and we're going to review them one more time. Rob was screaming it out. Okay, good. All right, now we're going to learn one more. And I've taught this, oh my God, hundreds of times over the years to many, many, many students. And I had to come up with a way to teach them this. And so what I did is I came up with this idea, this perfect 4th, perfect 5th thing, and then this note that's in between it, okay? And what I want you to do is I want you to think about Cinderella. Cinderella, right? She had the two stepsisters, and her mom, or her stepmom actually, her dad died. I don't know where her mom went, but her dad died, and she was with this stepmom, and of course, in every Disney movie, the stepmom is mean. And my current wife, who is also a stepmom, doesn't like that. It's not cool. Anyhow, stepmoms can be very nice, and stepdads can be very nice too. But nonetheless, this stepmom was not very nice. And so she thought that, number one, these gals were not very kind, and she just thought they hung the moon, thought they were perfect, right? Perfect 4 and perfect 5. But poor Cinderella sits in the middle of them, always being compared. And they would say, you're not like perfect 4th, you're an augmented 4th. Augment means to make bigger, right? Breast augmentation, boom, bigger. You diminish somebody, you say, no, you're being bad, whatever. That means to belittle them, right? So augment, make bigger, diminish, make smaller. So the mom would say, you are an augmented 4th. You're an augmented 4, you know. You know that old nickname that stepmothers use all the time. Or you're a diminished 5, you know. You're not quite like the other one, you're diminished 5. Also known as a sharp 4. Also known as a flat 5. Now I know you can't read all that, but you guys can, in your minds, you can write this down. Also known as a tritone. Dag, thank you so much for the kind donation. I so appreciate that. You rock, my friend. Thank you, thank you. This is also known as a tritone, okay? It's got lots of different names. And so you'll hear it as, usually you'll hear it as the diminished 4th. You'll hear it as you'll hear it as a diminished 5 or a flat 5. The most common is the flat 5, okay? I know that's completely messy, but good. So you need to be in the program anyhow and go get the pretty version of this. Let's review, okay? Our bookends, right? Right on the ends here. Unison, unicorn, 1, octave, octopus, 8. So here's our 1 note, here's our octave, okay? Those are our bookends. And if we move in 1 note, we have a major 2 over here and a major 6 over here. We move in another note, we got a major 3 over here, we got a major 6 over here. Then the 2 notes that are in the middle are the perfect 4 and the perfect 5. Now those are the notes that appear in the major scale, okay, that automatically appear in the major scale. But then we said, in between our whole steps, we've got some other little notes in there. And of course, since all the other ones are major, it's some sort of smaller version of it. So with the major intervals, they become a minor 2, a minor 3, a minor 6, and a minor 7. And we had in between our perfect 4th and our perfect 5th, right, the 2 stepsisters, that poor Cinderella was always being compared to the other one. So it was either a sharp 4, either she was doing too much than 4, she was augmented, or she was flat 5. She was diminished. She wasn't as good as number 5, okay? Also known as the tritone. Tri meaning 3. She was the 3rd sister, okay? That's how to remember that. Boom. All right, so you got this now. Now let's do this. We're gonna have a little, this is gonna take too long because we got that daggone delay. Okay, that's okay. Not as quick as when we're doing it on the phone, but that's okay. It's all right. You get it? Now, if you don't get that, you didn't get that, you should be in the Unstoppable Guitar System standard. Anyhow, YourGuitarSage.com/30. Go in there. You're going to get this, okay? Now, why is that important? Well, it's very important because if somebody says to us, Les Paul, more Ray, thank you so much for the donation, brother. I just now got your name, Les Paul, more Ray. That's fun. So we need to know intervals because it's musician talk, number 1. Number 2, it's going to help us to understand music in ways that we hadn't before, right? It boggles my mind that people fear music theory, that musicians fear music theory. That's like being a surgeon being like, I don't want to know all that information. I'm all about cutting. I just got to cut. I don't need to get that. All that theory information is really going to it's going to take away from my creativity. Hey, listen, Jack Ball, if you're working on my brain, I don't want you to get creative, okay? I want you to make the precise cut that you need to make, and then let's get going, all right? Get me out of there as quick as possible. So, as a musician, don't we want that information? It's going to make us a better musician because we're going to understand things more. We can always back away and not do anything with it, but it's good to know, okay? Now, so what are some reasons that we would use this? Well, if someone says a power chord, oh, a power chord is a fifth. A fifth, what are you talking about? Well, now we know what that is. We know what a fifth is. We just play our scale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and indeed a power chord is known as a fifth. It's known as a P5 or a perfect fifth. And you hear power chords all the time, right? Right? Or if someone talks about the circle of fifths, what they're talking about is they're talking about perfect fifths. Oh no, thank you so much for the kind donation, brother. You rock. All right, so for instance, if someone says the perfect fifths, you can literally, now I have videos for you on the perfect fifth, on perfect fifths. Here on YouTube, search YourGuitarSage perfect fifth. Or if you're inside of UGS Pro, search perfect fifths, and I've got a whole course inside a course. It's kind of Inception-like. There's a course inside of a course, and it's all on the circle of fifths. Pretty cool. So, but like literally, if you wanted to know the circle of fifths, you could start off on any note and a G, and you want to know what the fifth is going up from that, it's a D. And then you want to know what the fifth is going up from that, it's an A. Right? And if you want to know a fifth up from that, it's an E. And you can work backwards and go to the fourth and find the B. And so on and so forth. It's super easy to do. That's another reason why you might want to do it. Another reason you may want to do it if someone says, oh, a major chord is a 1-3-5 from the major scale. And you're like, what's a 1-3-5? Well, now you know, brother, sister. Watch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we just isolate the 1, the 3, and the 5. Now we got our major triad. And if we add other 1s and 3s and 5s, we got a nice big fat G chord there, right? And then any place we play a G is a 1, and we play the appropriate 3 and a 5, then we also get other types of Gs all over the fretboard. This is why some people will say, well, you're playing that G wrong. Really? If it has a 1, 3, and a 5 based off of the G, it's a G. It's a G chord. Don't assume. Okay, we gotta understand. This is why we want to know music theory. It will educate us. It will make us smarter. It will make us help other musicians. The whole 9 yards. Cool. All right. So another reason that you may want to do it is someone may say, okay, well, in order to play a minor chord, you need to play the 1 flat 3 5. The flat 3 is also known as the minor 3. So any place, at least when we're talking about intervals, if it says a minor 3, you could also call it a flat 3. If it's a minor 7th, it's a flat 7, okay, that we're adding in there. When we're talking about intervals, okay, the reason that I said it that way is because we could be talking about chords or we could talk about intervals. And if I said a minor 7th interval, well, remember, an interval is the distance between 2 notes, so that would be its own thing. But there's also a minor 7th chord, but there's a reason for that. We'll delve into it here at some point here this week, okay? So suffice to say, all of these interval definitions and names are very helpful because it will let us know how to build things, okay? So if somebody says a diminished scale is a series of minor thirds, well, then we can go, okay, well, this is a minor third, that's a minor third, that's a minor third. Okay, so okay, that sounds pretty cool. That's diminished. Okay, boom. And that, now I have that memorized, obviously, but I don't necessarily have to memorize it. Now that I have the math, okay, I can build it. It's like if someone says, hey, go build a birdhouse, and you're like, but I don't know how to build a birdhouse, and then they hand you the blueprint. Well, now you can build 10 million birdhouses because you got the information here, right? So instead of them just handing you a birdhouse and now you're like, well, I really need another birdhouse, you can't do it. Now you got the blueprint, right? This is the blueprint for music. Cool? All right, so those are what intervals are good for. A million other reasons why we would want to know intervals, but that'll give you an idea. Cool? All right. Oh, good. Rob is saying, holy crap, is it really possible that some of this stuff is actually sinking in? Dang, man, good. I love to hear that, Rob. Beautiful. And sometimes look, I know that many of you who have been with me for a long time have heard many of these concepts over and over and over again. In fact, I saw someone it was hilarious because it shows their lack of knowledge. They go, man, that guy, he teaches the same thing over and over and over again with just different names. Yeah, guess what? That's because the essentials, the foundational things of anything are very, very simple. But this jackball, after seeing all of these, still doesn't get it, doesn't realize that you've got to get the basics down. And there's so many different ways to look at it. So one way you don't get it, I'm going to show you another way that you are going to get it, okay? So very, very important. You want advanced lessons. I've got 1,000-something lessons inside of UGS Pro. So, but usually the stuff that I'm teaching on YouTube for the most part is going to be foundational stuff because you got to know that stuff and it's the most important stuff. That guy's probably skipping that stuff and sitting there scratching his head wondering why he sucks at guitar and doesn't know stuff. It's unfortunate. But alas, when the ego gets in the way, that's when bad stuff happens. So, we know our intervals now. So now let's talk about capos, how to use the capos, and how to change key with the capo, okay? Now, one of the things that I teach you inside of UGS Standard is the 9 essential chords. What are 9 essential chords? Well, they are the chords that I have found over the years after teaching over 10,000 one-on-one lessons, teaching hundreds of students. I've found that these 9 essential chords are literally, if you know these chords, you can end up playing thousands and thousands of songs if you know how to use your capo the correct way. Now, somebody out there is saying, what do you mean how to use the capo? You do that. Cool. But what I'm saying is, do you know how to use it according to the key of the song that you're looking at? And if you don't, then this is pretty useless unless someone says, hey, capo the 2nd fret and just play a G chord, what feels like a G chord. Okay, that's one way you could do it, but then you're always going to be dependent on that person. You're going to need to bring them everywhere, or you can find out how to do the way I do it. And it goes like this. Let's start the easy way. If we are playing in the key of G, we have a G, a C, a D, E minor, A minor, those sorts of chords, right? AB's Guitar World, thank you for the donation, brother. Super duper kind. Yeah. So we got these chords, G, C, D, E, A minor, A minor, right? Now, if somebody says, I love those chords, they feel good underneath my fingers, I'd like to play those for forever. I don't want to learn a bunch of bar chords. I'm a campfire guitarist, and I don't want to do that because they're not steeped in ego, and that's what they want to do. They're not that guy who's like, if you don't know bar chords, you don't know nothing, man. Because I see that guy on YouTube all the time, and it's more than one guy. So they're out there. So unfortunately, again, the ego gets in the way of people learning. It's about making music. It's not about working out. Go work out if you want to work out. Otherwise, just make some damn music. Okay? So if you want to play in the key of G for the rest of your life, or the feel, what I call the feel of G, which is using all those chords but moving your capo around, because if I slap my capo on the 1st fret here and I play a G, what feels like a G and a C and a D and an E minor and an A minor, I'm not in the key of G anymore, friends. We're not in Kansas anymore. We're in the key of G sharp now. Okay? Obviously, right? This chord does not sound like this chord. Does not sound like this chord. Does not sound like this chord. Because if I say to my keyboard player, hey, I'm capoed at the 2nd fret. Yeah, I'm playing a G, bro. And you don't know music theory, and you can't tell him that actually that's an A chord, and he goes to play his G, and you're up on your soapbox saying, nope, it's a G. It's what a G looks like. I know it. I know it. I watched a guitar lesson once. It's a G. And you're like, he's like, dude, that's not a G, it's an A. And you know, you don't want to be foolish. So we can take this capo, we'll put it at the first fret. Now we're playing in the key of G sharp. And now our chords are G sharp, D sharp, or G sharp, C sharp, D sharp, F minor, or some might call it an E sharp minor. Those that are like to make things confusing. It's an F minor. And then we got A sharp minor, okay? Now, if we move it up again, now we have an A and a D and an E and an F sharp minor and a B minor. Because every single time we move this up, we're moving all of the chords up a half step. Anything that you do in the open position, you can do further up the neck. Scales, licks, chords, triads, double stops, hammer-ons, bends, scale. It doesn't matter what it is that you're doing down here. You can do it up further up the fretboard and it matches up perfectly. Makes sense? Always wanted to thank you for your online course and your motivation. Helps me. I always remember the story of the juggler unicycling on a wire. Thanks a lot, sir. AB's Guitar World. Again, thank you, brother. So kind, and I'm so glad that you get that one. Yeah. Yep. Maybe we'll talk about that story at some point during the week. All right, so essentially what we're doing with the capos, we're allowing ourselves to play in sharped and flatted keys, those keys that aren't considered open, like G, C, D, E, and A. Those open keys where we have lots of open chords, or more open chords, than we would if we were in a sharp or flatted key. That's what the capo is very, very useful for. Also, sometimes in the studio, you might play a song, you might write a song, then you go into the studio and the singer's feeling great that day and they want to play it up a half step, okay? Or they want to play it down a half step. Doesn't matter. Now you have the ability to do that. Let's talk about some other ways we can do this. So the only thing you need to know is if you put the capo at the first fret and you're playing a G chord, you add 1 to all the chords. So if this is a G before, then now going up a half step, it's a G sharp. And the C before is now a C sharp. And the D is up a half step, now it's a D sharp. And everything goes up a half step. It goes up 1 fret because we went 1 fret. If we go up 2, we add 2 to everything. 2 to the G, 2 to the C, 2 to the D. So now we have a G, G sharp A, C, C sharp D, D, D sharp E. So even though it feels like the old chords we were playing before, because we're using our capo, it actually changes the key. Does that make sense? So a lot of times what I'll say is, we are in the feel of G, capo 2nd fret. What that means is, it feels like we're in the key of G. I mean, like take the capo off and play in the key of G. You got G's and C's and D's and E minors and A minors. Capo the 2nd fret, you got G's and C's and D's and E minors and A minors, and it feels that way. But obviously we're not in that key because we're up a whole step. Make sense? Yeah? Okay, you got it. You got this. So we literally can do this all the way up the fretboard till it just stops feeling comfortable. I always say there's 2 really, really easy keys that you can play in, the key of G and the key of C. And this is where most songs are written on the acoustic guitar, G and C. So we can do this with the key of C, where we have C and D minor, E minor, we have F, G, A minor, and you might fancy the key of C and say, I love the key of C. Cool, awesome, I do too. And then you could say, well, but Eric, this song's in the key of C sharp. Whatever will I do? Well, you could play a bunch of bar chords. There's C, you know, here's C sharp major, here's D sharp minor. And you could play, I mean, obviously it's going to be harder. Here's your F sharp minor or your F minor. Here's your F sharp major. Here's your G major. Here's your A sharp minor. I mean, heck, it's even hard to say that I have to sit there and think about it and do all the math in my head and play the chords. That's fine if you're one of those people who are like, man, no, Eric, I love things harder. Make them harder for me. Then cool. Then don't use your capo, and you're welcome to play all the bar chords you want, which we're going to be talking about this week too. So don't think that I don't love bar chords. I love them. I do. I really do. But use them when you have to. Free up your fingers so you can make music. You're not impressing me by playing. You know, back in the day, it made me laugh. In the '80s, people would take these pictures with their guitar, and if you're a guitar player, you know what I'm talking about. And they would do stuff like this. Can we zoom in on this picture? They do like this. It'd be like, and that'd be the picture. It'd be like, yeah, look at me, I play rock and roll. And they would contort their fingers and is that getting the ladies? Does that get the ladies, Em?
I've never heard of that.
Yeah, no, it's not going to get the ladies. I mean, the ladies want a pretty song, okay? The guys want a nice song. Everybody, they want music. They don't want this ego stuff. So let's not do that. We got our capo at the 2nd fret. We're playing in the key of A. We can do this just straight up the fretboard. We can do this in the key of C. C sharp now. Now we're in the key of D. Now we're in the key of D sharp. Now we're in the key of E, etc. And all the chords will go up. So if I capo 4, we just add 4 half steps boop, 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 up from whatever note we were at. So if we were at C, we'd say C sharp, D, D sharp, E. So then that means this is an E chord. If we were playing a D, then we would say D sharp, E, F, F sharp. So this would be an F sharp chord. If I was going to go play an E minor chord, I would say E minor, and I'd go up 4, and I would say F, F sharp, G, G sharp. So G sharp minor. If I was playing an A minor chord, I'd say A minor, and I'd say A sharp, B, B sharp, C. So now I'm playing, hold on, did I do that wrong? Yeah, going up 4. A sharp, B, C, C sharp. I counted wrong. So there you go. Okay. So literally, that's how you count it up. Now someone might say, well, how do you know whether to play in the key of G or C? That's up to you. What do you want to play in? But I can tell you that the further you bring the capo up, the more your guitar is probably not going to like it. The more you're not going to like it because you're going to be all cramped up and stuff. So I try to keep my capo to the lower bout here of the guitar, the lower area here. That's just what I do. But I mean, if I want that kind of mandolin sound, I might come up here and be playing a song like right here in the key of B flat, you know. I think that sounds really pretty, you know. Make sense? Okay. All right. So that's why we're using the capo there. And if someone said song's in the key of A, then you could put the capo right here and play, or you could put the capo here and play this, or you could put the capo right here and play this. Yeah. Or you could put the capo right here and play. Wow. What? Yeah. You can put the capo anywhere you want. Not anywhere you want, but as it pertains to the chords, okay? Now, later on Thursday, we're going to get into the caged system, and that will further bring this stuff home for you where you're going to understand this, okay? Okay, all right, we're going to do 2 more things here. We're going to talk about some basic rhythms, and then we're going to talk about building chords. We're talking about inversions and slash chords, so let's do that really quickly. Linda, what? For the 60 lady headbangers, for the 60 lady headbangers, thank you, Eric. Oh, I love that. For the over 60 lady headbangers, beautiful. Linda, thank you so much. And you know, that's what I grew up on. I grew up on all that good stuff. So indeed, I love that. Thank you, Linda. Very generous and very kind. Thank you. Okay, so let's talk about rhythms. And what we mean by this is really just to basically get some ideas on the length of notes, okay? So usually when a song is playing, we're tapping our foot, you know, hey ya. Hey, we at 800? Woo! Yeah, love it. All right. I love this. Okay, we are at 800. Thank you, friends. Whoever shared this, thank you. Special sage blessing there for you. Thank you so much. I truly appreciate that. That's amazing. Thank you for sharing it. Thank you for liking it. All right, so if I'm playing a song, my foot's tapping. My baby don't mess around. She loves me so, 'cause I know for sure. Pop, 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 right? Pop, pop, pop. Those are quarter notes, right? Every time our foot hits the ground, that's a quarter note. For the most part, if you're tapping like this, that's not quarter notes, that's half notes. But nonetheless, the basic beat, that's a quarter note, okay? What we mean by a quarter note is there's 4 of them in a measure of music. A measure of music represents a little snippet of time musically, okay? If the song, it doesn't matter what the tempo is, whatever the tempo is, whatever can fit into those 4 beats, whether you're playing it like, or you're playing, my baby don't mess around before the, you know, that sort of thing. So quarter notes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. They call it quarter because there's 4 of them in a measure. Cool, good. Half notes are twice as long because that's how fractions work. Half is twice as big as a quarter. 2 quarters make a half. So we got 1, 2. All right, let's see, 1, 2. So this would be, if I did this in quarters, it would sound like, right? If I did this in half notes, it would be like this. So I got 2 beats, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. So we can fit 2 of those in a measure of 4, right? 2 and 2 makes 4. Before we were doing quarter notes, so we had 1, 2, 3, 4. We could fit 4 of them in there. Here we got half notes. They're the length of 2 quarter notes, right? 2 times a quarter equals half, or 2/4 or half. And we can fit 2 of those in a measure. That's why they're called half, okay? Half notes. A whole note is for the whole measure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And that one has a split measure. 2, 1, 2. Okay? Make sense? So we got whole notes is the whole measure, half notes, half the measure, quarter notes, a quarter of the measure. Now, we can even break this down further into eighth notes, so like 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And so basically my foot's coming down on the quarter, 1, 2, 3, 4, but I'm doubling up here. So instead of going bump, 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 I'm also hitting on the way up. So instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, I got 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E, that sort of thing. No, I'm sorry, now I've got 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, but we count it, musicians count it 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and those are called eighth notes. If we wanted to do 16th notes, we'd put 16 in a measure. 1 E and a, or 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. So for each beat, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4. Slow it down. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. So 1 E and a, that's 4 times 4 is 16. That's why we call them 16th notes. And we can go to 30 seconds and 64ths for someone who's playing very, very quickly. Say Yngwie Malmsteen for that. He'll play those all day long. Okay, triplets are when we stick 3 into a space that's usually like a 2 or a 4, and it makes it, it's a little less symmetrical, right? Because triplets, well, it's an odd number of notes. So if we were going 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, a triplet would be like this. Okay, 2, 3, 4, triplet, and that's how you know that it's triplet. Thomas, thank you so much for the kind donation, brother. Makes sense? Triplet, 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 triplet. So you can actually say triplet, triplet, triplet. I know it's triplet, but say it like it's got 3 in there, and that will help you count it. Bop, 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 bop. So every third note, it has an emphasis. Bop, 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 bop. 1 and 2. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay? Makes sense. Cool. All right. Let's talk about dotted quarter notes. Dotted quarter notes are when now we're kind of getting into maybe an area that you don't need to get into. Let's not talk about dotted quarter notes. We won't talk about that. Not necessary right now. Okay, building chords. Let's talk about building chords, and we're going to talk about this from a very basic idea, and then we're going to go to your questions. Cool? All righty now. Now, so what do you mean building chords? Well, what I mean is this. You could go and memorize thousands of chords. Sure, you could do that. You could, when you're growing up and they're teaching math, when they said 2 + 2 = 4, you could disregard any of the logic behind it and all the explanations and just memorize it. 2 + 2 is 4. Easy enough, right? But that's going to become really problematic when you start getting into thousands of possible equations. And when I say thousands, I actually meant an infinite number of equations, right? Division, multiplication, addition, subtraction, algebra, calculus. Oh my God, what, you're going to memorize all of those? No, you come up with a method. And we could do the same thing when it comes to scales or chords, more chords than anything. Scales we typically memorize in some way or some fashion, but chords, you don't have to do that. What is very helpful, it's good to know the forms, especially the ones that you're going to use often. So like when I teach the 9 essential chords, the reason I do that is I'm not going to bring you to music theory land right away. It's like I'm going to get your feet wet, get you playing some songs, get you feeling good before we go to theory land, right? Because you're going to bail out if you're like, math, that's why I'm not doing this. I want to play guitar. So I don't want to do that to you. I'm going to keep you in the game, okay? But once we start understanding the intervals and that sort of thing, now we can start using those intervals to build things, to build chords. So for instance, if we were building a major chord is the 1, 3, 5 from the major scale, the 1, the 3, and the 5. Right? So, in fact, I tell you what we're going to do. We're just going to do major and minor, and we'll talk about, we're just going to talk about major and minor, and then we'll talk about sevenths, okay? Because you're very rarely going to run into an augmented chord. You're very rarely going to run into a diminished chord. Now listen to what I just said, rarely, because there's somebody out there going, no, I saw one the other day. I know you did. I did too. What I'm saying is they don't appear very often. They are very rare. So let's not go into that. Otherwise, if you want that, then this course will be a month long, okay? But that's not what you want. We want the stuff that's most important that we're going to use all the time. And that would be major and minor and some sevenths. That's it. You're going to use that 99% of the time. Okay? So a major chord is a 1, 3, and 5 from the major scale. And a minor chord is a 1, flat 3, 5 from the major scale. Does that make sense? Yeah? Sure it does. And I talk about this. This is in the definitions for you. Pretty much everything that we've covered so far is in the free course that I'm giving you today. All right, so Humidistan, thank you so much for the donation, friend. So kind, $50. Wow, woo, love it. We need to have like some music going or something like that every time someone donates big like that. That's crazy. That's beautiful. Thank you, friend. Okay. Thrash metal. This says Eric is cool. It must be some sort of binary something or another. We're in the matrix there. Well, we know we're in the matrix. All right, major 1, 3, 5. So literally, if we take the notes right out of the scale, if we were talking about a G major, we take a 1, a 3, and a 5, and we add those 3 together, and add the other 1s and 3s and 5s, then we get all these G major sounding chords. Make sense? Good. Now, if we flatted that 3, then we would have a minor chord. So for instance, in this G major chord right here, every single note's a 1 and a 5 except for where my second finger is. That's the only third that's in the chord. This happens to be a major chord, so it has a major third in it, or the regular 3. But if we wanted to, right, The formula for a minor chord is a 1 flat 3 5. So we just lower the third a half step. So here's the third. Now we have our minor chord. Have you ever noticed, get ready for a light bulb moment, and if the light bulb moment hits you, put a little light bulb or say yes, because here's the light bulb moment. Watch this. So A major chord, you hit here's the A major, but you know how when you go to your minor chord, you just move one note down a half step? That's the third. That means all the other notes are 1s and 5s. If we did this with a D chord, here's a D chord, and remember the D minor, or if we played it like this, the D minor is just moving that one finger back a half step. That means that's a major, and this is the minor, right? And that is the third. That means all the other notes must be 1s and 5s. Same thing with an E minor, or E major. Here's E major, here's E minor. We're only moving one finger down a half step. That means that all the other notes, other than this one finger here that's moving, that's our third. Major third, minor third. Regular third, flat third. That means all the other notes are 1s and 5s. Make sense? Sure it does. Okay, now, 99% of the time, the chords you're going to run into are major or minor. Beautiful. Marine Mom, thank you. Lights going on. Yes, yes, lots of yeses coming through. Beautiful. Love it. Okay, so now, major and minor, you're going to hear those 99% of the time. Some other things that you might hear seventh chords, also known as the dominant seventh chord, okay? Let's talk about that. Let's talk about minor sevenths. Let's talk about major sevenths. And really, minor seventh, major seventh, dominant seventh, those are the chords that you would hear often. Good, Cheryl gets it. Beautiful, love it. Mingerific gets it. Diana, yeah, beautiful. So, when we stack chords, this is what we're doing. Watch this. You may not get this, but this is going to be powerful. And I had no plans on doing this, but I'm going to do it right now. So if we go through the scale, one, let's do it from the bottom here. Let's go like this. Let's go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, or 1, but we'll call it an 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. We're going to stop right there. Now, when we're building chords, you know what we do? Watch this. It's called harmony. So harmony is when we play more than one note at a time, right? Yeah, okay, good. You got that one. All right, so now, more than one note at a time, but when we think of harmony, we don't think of this. That sounds enharmonic, right? It sounds dissonant, if you will. So we could use the word harmony like peace, but we could also, Star Child is lost. Star Child, it's okay. It's because you ain't in Unstoppable Guitar System Standard. Go through that step by step, friends. You're going to get it, okay? YourGuitarSage.com/30. You're going to get this, I promise. But you got to do the work. You got to do it step by step. You're going to get it, okay? I promise. So we might use the word harmony to talk about, does it sound pretty or not? And that's true. We could use it that way. But harmony really technically means more than one note at a time, okay? So that is technically harmony. Doesn't sound as good as this. Doesn't sound as good as this. And that even sounds better. As we get further away from the note, we don't have that rub. Right? So, because of that, there's a little thing that we do in music where we skip notes for the most part. When we're learning chords, when we're building chords, we go to the 1, and then we skip the 2, we go to the 3, and then we go to the 5. That's what we call a triad. A triad is a 3-note chord, by the way. Okay? 3-note chord. And we're skipping the 2 and the 4. And then if we wanted to have a 7th chord, then we skip the 6 and we go to the 7th. Light bulb's coming on right now. I know it. I can feel it. It's getting hot in here. 1, 3, 5, 7. Okay. If we have a 9th chord, we're skipping the 8. We're going to the 9th. Now we're stacking up some more harmony, making those nice, thick, jazzy chords that you love, right? Or maybe you don't. Maybe you hate them. They're complex sounding, which was why some people don't like them. And then if we want to play an 11 chord, then boom, there's our 11. And if you want to play a 13 chord, then you skip another note and you play a 13. Light bulb's going off, I know it. So that's what we're having a lot of times. Now, it's not to say that we can't throw a 6 in there, but the 1 is just the octave. It's in there already. The 2 is the 9. Stick with me, but we don't use it down here because it would rub very much, like I just showed you. When notes are very close to each other, they rub. So we could do the 2, just like if we add 1. Oh, get ready for light bulbs. Get ready, get ready, get ready, get ready. Watch this. We add 7 to the 1, we get 8. We add 7 to the 2, we get a 9. Same note. We add 7 to the 3, we get the 10. Same note. We add 7 to the 4, it becomes an 11. This is why people will call an 11th chord a suspended chord, because a suspended chord has the 4 instead of the 3. They sound very similar. And so on and so forth. You just add 7 to whatever, and then that's the note that you're going to find on top. But the reason that we don't have many chords that have the 2s and the 4s in it, they do. We can do that in the 6s. There's an add 6 chord. There's a suspended chord. Yeah. But when we're stacking 1, 3, 5, 7, usually dominant 7th chord has the 1, 3, 5, 7. And then if we have a 9th chord, it's basically a dominant 7th chord with a 9 on top of it, and so on and so forth. Okay. So we're not going to go further down that rabbit hole, okay? We just peeked our head in and we looked around a little bit and we're like, no, not going to go down here right now. That's okay. I just want you to just peek your head in and see where we could be going. Where we do go inside of UGS Pro, we go there. Oh, do we go there? We go deep down the rabbit hole. And for folks that are in there understanding this stuff, you know what I'm talking about. But it's not for the faint of heart. And I shouldn't even say it's not for the faint of heart. It's not for beginners. Like, why? There's a reason that they start us off in first grade. And don't get me started with the school system. But there's a reason they start us at first grade, at least. It's a little bit easier than second grade. But it's harder than kindergarten. And it's magical like that it just keeps happening that way. 8th grade is easier than 9th grade, arguably, but harder than 7th grade. So you got to keep this concept in mind, friends, because when we are in school, they just walk us through it. I'm going to school, I'm going to school, and you just do what you're told. But at some point in life, we need to realize that we need to learn a certain way, and step by step is the way to do it. Step by step and association. If you're not learning things like that, you are wasting your own time. Time equals life. You're literally wasting your life by not learning things step by step in a methodical method. I don't care what it is, whether it's guitar or learning surgery or learning law or learning whatever, learning tennis, learn it step by step by a pro who can guide you through it. Otherwise, you're wasting your own life because you're wasting your time. Okay, I'm very serious about that. Bless you, Em, because I'm very serious about time. Your time is a commodity that's melting away every second. Why not make the best of it, right? No one gets extra time. We just can make the most of our time. So why not do that? Cool? All right. There we go. Let's talk really quickly about inversions or slash chords, and then we will get to questions. All right. So get those questions ready because we're gonna do them. Okay. All right. So usually when we're talking about chords like E and G and C and D, which, by the way, if we just say D, we mean D major. If we say C, we mean C major. It's not, do you mean C major or C minor? It's major every single time. If you're working with musicians that know what they're talking about, if you're working with somebody who doesn't, then they're going to ask, do you mean C major or C minor? They should mean C major. Otherwise, they don't know what they're talking about. So if we mean A minor, we say A minor. Okay? Make sense? So a chord is called by its letter name or its root. So a C major chord or a C chord, however you want to call it, has a C in the root. And that means it's based off of the C major scale, and so it has a 1, a 3, and a 5 from the C major scale. If we're talking about an E major scale or an E major chord, we're talking about the 1, the 3, and the 5 from the E major scale, and that's why it makes an E major chord. If we're talking about a G major chord, we're talking about the 1, the 3, and the 5 from the G major scale. So see, we always have that scale, as I mentioned yesterday. The major scale is so important because it literally is our carpenter's square for everything musical that we're going to be doing. So G major needs the G major scale to compare it. So if we want to find out what the 7th and the 9th and all that stuff is that we talked about earlier, you got to use the major scale of the same note, G. Okay. Now, with that being said, if we have a C chord, usually, or any chord by the letter name, right? They all have a letter name. We almost always put that letter name in the bass, meaning the very lowest note. So E major has an E in the bass. E minor has an E in the bass. E7th has an E in the bass. E minor 7th has an E in the bass. It's the same one every time, right? C chord has a C in the bass, C minor, C in the bass, C minor 7th, C in the bass. It's a C every time, unless we have an inversion, or more loosely called a slash chord. An inversion is when we take a note that's already in the chord and we put it as the lowest note. We put it in the bass, okay? So as opposed to playing just a C, E, G, and whatever else is on top there, we're putting some other note, the E or the G, into the bass of the chord, and then that makes it still a C chord, but it makes it a C slash G. So written like this. It was a C slash G. The numerator is the chord. It's a C chord, but the denominator, the lower note, is... You could see it like that too, but usually it's written like this. So that means that's the chord, and then the notes that's on the bottom is your bottom note. It's your bass note. It's the lowest note. So this says, hey Eric, play a C chord, but instead of putting the C in the bass, put the G in the bass. Oh, okay, I can do that. So C chord, and then here's a G right here. So I'll play it like that. Or if it said C slash E, then I play a C chord with an E in the bass. That sounds pretty cool. Regular C, C with a G, C with an E. They all sound very similar, right? Kind of like if you made chili, your grandma made chili, your mama made chili, the fire chief down the road made chili. They're all going to taste like chili, but you're probably going to have a favorite. It's probably going to be grandma's or the fire chief's. But nonetheless, it's all chili, okay? So in the same way here, we could play a C chord. We could play a C chord like this, or like this, or this, or this, or this, or a C with a G, or a C with an E. They're all C chords because the definition of it has a 1, 3, 5 of the major scale, and all those had that in there, okay? It's a sparse definition, but we can play it many, many different ways, okay? Makes sense? All right, those are inversions, also known as slash chords. People call them slash chords because it has that little slash in it. Now, an inversion is when we literally take one of the notes out of the chord and put in the bass. But sometimes you'll come across another chord that may be a slash chord, and it's taking another note and putting it into the bass, and that note that's in the bass is not anywhere in the chord. And that we just call a slash chord. Okay, because it's not an inversion. Inversions when we invert the root note, when we invert it. That's all that means, okay? Inversion, okay? Otherwise, it's just a slash chord. It technically wouldn't be an inversion because that other note isn't in the chord. Make sense? Cool. Him is hungry. Says I'm hungry. Oh, because I'm talking about chili, huh? I gotcha. All right. Now I want chili. Amber says toilets hate chili. Oh, goodness. All right. All right, let's get into some questions, shall we? Woo! All right. Now, again, we've been over some basics. We've really built a solid foundation here now, friends, okay? So now, tomorrow, when we start talking about the number system, light bulbs are going to come on because all of this has to do with association, right? Caged, bar concepts on Thursday. Friday, we're talking about scales over chords. So all this stuff is really, truly going to start coming together for you guys. But we got to do the basics first. We can't skip kindergarten, first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, and then just go, straight into middle school. That's going to be weird, okay? It's going to be weird for you. It's going to be weird for the other kids. Don't do it. What are the intervals between strings for major scales? You did intervals on one string. Jat, it's the same thing. It's just now we're moving to other strings. So there is no difference. An interval's an interval. It's the distance between one note and the next. Because the player doesn't care what note you play that string on. Case in point, you're saying other strings. If I play here, or this, or this, or this, or this, those are all E notes. So the ear doesn't care where you're playing it. The timbre changes a slight bit, but the note stays the same. The principal note stays the same. So intervals are just the distance between notes. It doesn't matter what string you're on. Sounds like you're not inside Unstoppable Guitar System Standard. Jack, get in there, my friend. YourGuitarSage.com/30. Get in there because I know that you're not in the program. Why do I know that? Because I've worked with, I've taught over 10,000 folks. I know what they say, and I know the pieces that they're missing when they say something, right? If you've done this long enough, you know, and that means you're missing some pieces in there, okay? And I promise you, it's all the beginner stuff. This is what, it always goes back to the beginner stuff. You got to get that stuff down. Once you do that, you go through that program, you're going to get this, and it's free for you. So what capo are you using? I recently picked up a nice shub, but it takes two hands to put it in place. John, the shub might be my favorite capo. So these are Guitar X. It's kind of a generic brand, but they sent us some a few years ago. It was really kind, and they work great. Yeah, they work awesome, just a little clip type. But the shubs are real nice. I like those because they keep the guitar in better tune because they're adjustable, right? I love this. What's the best way to practice intervals to learn songs by ear? Associating the interval to a tune, jaws, etc., or just playing the notes back to back and simultaneously just learning it? No, Bobby. The best way to learn anything is association, association, association. Every single time, friends. What do I mean by that? What I mean by that is you know something. So let's take something new and link it to something you know already, and then now you just instead of building a brand new synapse, you just took the synapse that was already connected. A synapse is a connection of neurons in your brain. It's real generic guitar player bro science version there. I'm sure we could get more technical, but nonetheless, that's what it is. So if that's connected already and we're adding something new, the only thing we need to do is associate it to something you know already. Then it's a lot less building, okay? We want to build the brain, but we can learn concepts way quicker, and this is a way to organize things, right? If your stuff is like all over the place where it's organized nice and properly, that would be association, okay? So what John is asking here, no, not one John, it was Bobby. Bobby's asking, what's the best way to learn the intervals? And he means by name. So exactly the way you said here is to learn the interval to a tune, jaws, etc. And I'm sure there's videos on YouTube about this. If not, I should create one. Emmy, would you write that down right now? Because I'm going to do that. And I'm going to use modern music, okay? Would you just write that as a note? So for instance, yes, you learn it through association. This is what I did in college, except my professor was using all sorts of tunes from like my Bonnie lies over the ocean. So anyhow, that's a major 6. My Bonnie. So somebody said this. They said, what's the 6 of that? I could go, and I'm going to guess. Oh, I didn't guess. I had association. I used the song. I wouldn't have been able to do that. I just go, my Bonnie, my Bonnie. So I know that's a major 6. So we can do this with any interval. And I'm sure there's videos out on YouTube right now. I'm going to make one because it helped me a ton. It will help you. So like if we were jaws, that's a minor second. something like that, but that's a minor interval. That's a minor second interval. So we can use association. That's the best way to do it, John, and you will not forget it if you use a song that you know and you love. So when I do this video, it's going to be epic because I'm going to take lots of songs and maybe give you 3 or 4 different examples. That'll help you all a ton, right? Here you go. The Star Trek intro with Kirk and Spock is a minor 7th. Boom. I love nerds. I'm a nerd. I friggin' love it. Please explain a sus chord. Okay, yeah. A sus chord means suspended, not sustain. A lot of people think it means sustain. It does not. It means suspended. And what we mean by suspended is it's as if there's a note floating in the air and it wants to resolve itself, okay? So you've heard this sound before. That's a D sus. And it wants to resolve to, right? We just had a donation from my buddy, MSG Knight, doing 365 octaves in week 6 is sliding up and down the neck over the E and G strings. 3, 3, 3, 3. Can you demonstrate? I got it sloppily, but it was rough. Confetti. Nice, thanks, bro. Yes. Yeah, I'll do it. I'll show that to you in just 1 second. Let me explain this real quick, and then we'll do that, MSG Knight. Thank you for the donation, brother. Okay, so suspended means instead of the 3, we play the 4. Now, it's not to say that you can't have a 3 and a 4 in the same chord, but usually if you're going to, they're not going to be right next to each other because the 3 and the 4 are a half step away from each other. And unless you want this sound, don't put the 3 and the 4 right next to each other. Okay, so for instance, how can I give you an example of this? Okay, here you go. Here is a D suspended. And this is a 1, 5, 1, 4. Okay, there's no 3 in it, but it sounds very nice. And it resolves. Now, if I wanted to play it with the 3 and the 4 next to each other, it would sound like this. It's not the worst sound in the world, but here's a 1, here's a 3, here's a 4, and here's our 1 again. And technically I would need to have a 5 in there, but we don't. But hear how that rubs as opposed to... It's not the worst thing in the world, but it's there. Okay, so that's what a suspended chord is. Okay, so MSG Knight. So you say in octaves in week 6 is sliding up and down the neck. Right, okay, so I remember what you're talking about because I'm probably going to take this lesson out of 365 because I think more than any lesson that I have in there, this one gets so many questions and people are baffled by it. But I threw in some zingers in there specifically, and I throw them in there, number 1, to get you to think and to get you to have to come up with some sort of way to do it. And the ways that people have come up with playing this is amazing. And so part of me wants to leave it in there, but I literally get so many questions on it. And of course I answer all these questions. So basically what I did is I had something in there where you're playing octaves up the neck. And this is more to demonstrate octaves and to show you where they're at. So we're using 2 springboards. We're using the 2 E strings that I talk about all the time that you could write songs with. Playing notes on both E strings. Doing that with my 2nd and 3rd finger, right? Just like that. But what I did is I threw in another octave. I threw in the springboard octave down 2 strings up 2 frets, so it goes like this. So MSG, the way that I would play it is I would finger pick it. Okay? I would finger pick it. You could mute, but it'd be a lot of muting. So I would finger pick it. Okay? Maybe that's all I need to do is put that. Emmy, would you write this note down? Week 6, 365 octave exercise. Say to put a note about finger picking. because I need to do that. Because I know that one is confusing, but I mean, I purposely throw some zingers into the program in there, but that one seems to trip people up enough to where I think maybe I might be slowing them down a little bit, and I don't want to do that. My whole deal is to get you to keep going. Is UGS Pro and UGS 365 the same thing? James, no. That's why they have different names. UGS Pro is... Now, I can tell you this, if you buy UGS Pro, we throw in 365 with it, and it's not UGS 365, it's just called 365 or 365 Guitar Plan. So, Pro is basically, the way I want you to think about it is, if you were really into health and you're like, I want to learn nutrition, I want to learn about the anatomy, I want to learn about new breathing techniques, I want to learn about stretching and all this stuff, that would be UGS. UGS Standard or UGS Pro. Obviously, Pro is professional, and there's all the stuff that you'll ever need for the rest of your life in there, okay? UGS 365, if you will, is you going to the gym and you're meeting with me, your trainer, and I'm like, boom, here's this exercise, okay? I should say you're not even meeting with me. You are doing the exercises that are assigned to you, because I don't walk you through every exercise. There's no need to. What I do is I give you the tab, I give you a sound bite of it, and it walks you through sequentially what to do. So it's like if you're going to the gym for the first time, 7 different days, 7 different areas of focus, including finger picking, scales, alternate picking, economy picking, sweep picking, those sorts of things. Every day has a specific subject. Week 1 is the easiest. And then every week after that, I turn the heat up a teeny tiny bit, 52 times for 52 weeks. So by the end of this, you are a raging rock star, at least fingers-wise. Now, you may not know what to do with that stuff, because that's not the point of the course. The point of the course is coming to the gym, boom, 10 push-ups, boom, 10 sit-ups, boom, 10 pull-ups. That's what it is. But you're not going to be learning about the anatomy, nor should you expect to learn about the anatomy while you're doing push-ups. Right? You're doing push-ups, bro. You got to get swole. Not teaching you about the anatomy there. That's what UGS Pro is all about. Does that make sense? So, if you will, UGS Pro is sitting in front of me, walking you through things step by step like I'm doing right now. You got questions, you type them in there, I answer them. Same thing in 365, I answer all the questions, but that's more of a workout. Hopefully that answers the question for you. Patricia, please email me and let me know what plan I have. Okay. Tell you what I'll do. I'll have one of the staff look out for you. Maybe Jason, if you can do that, check them out. Let Patricia know. But Patricia, if you haven't paid any money, then you're in UGS Standard. If you've paid a one-time fee, then you are in, well, we'll check for you. Okay. Fat Sloth. Beautiful name. Newbie here. What's the difference between a scale and a key? Love it. They're very closely related, but a scale is a set of notes that we can play. It's just basically a set of notes. It could be chromatic. Or it can be more symmetrical, like a major scale. But it's a set of notes. A key is a key is, I would say, more important than that, if you will. It can represent more. A key is a central note that all the other notes and all the other chords revolve around, kind of like the sun in the center of the solar system. This is something that if you didn't have this present in songs, you would absolutely know. You would know if it was not present. You'd be like, whoa, that song sounds crazy. But you may not be able to identify it otherwise. So it's in every song that you're listening to, every popular song ever, but you may not be able to identify it because it's just balance. It's the balance that you know. I don't know if my son knows about gravity yet, at least in regards to what the word is, but he knows about it because he walks around every single day And if all of a sudden we didn't have gravity and he started floating around the room, he'd be like, what's going on? And then, so in that way, may not know technically what's going on, but you know it. Same thing. This is why, friends, I say all of this music theory that people are scared of, guess what? You know it already. It's in you. You know it by ear. If you play anything by ear and it sounds good, you know theory. At least you're starting to know more theory, okay? But we can know more, so don't fear it. But yeah, think about the tonal center as being the one note that all the other notes and all the other chords revolve around, and because of that one note, there are certain chords that would show up, certain chords that will represent majors and minors and diminished. In fact, I'm just gonna go ahead and tell you what they are right now. This is gonna be an aha moment for you. So go ahead and get a pen and get a mop and a bucket, because it's mind-blowing time. All right, here we go. Now, we said do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, right? And so if we play these notes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 6, 7, 1. If we do this, every single note in a key, and every single chord in a key points back to the 1. And what I mean by points back to is it really wants to gravitate magnetically or vibrationally, or your ear wants it to go there. There's really not the words to quite describe it accurately what it wants to do, but so for the same reason that if we're playing a song, right, and we're like, it wants to resolve right there. But if I went, and I didn't resolve it, and I just put my guitar down, you might be like, dear God, please resolve it. Okay, that's the tonal center. You're hearing the tonal center. It wants to resolve, right? And so all those chords that I just played also represent what I'm about to show you here. We have do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. And each one of those chords has a chord represented as it applies to diatonic harmony. If we took the 1, the 3, and the 5 from the major scale, it would create this green chord here. Green represents major. Okay? If we took the 2 and the 4 and the 5, which is the 1, 3, 5 based off of the 2, but we're going to call it a 2, 4, 5, a 2, 4, 6, because it's going to get confusing to you if not, then that would make a minor chord. So it's red and has a little minus symbol by it. If we took the 3 and we skipped over that note, we went to the 5, we skipped over that note, went to the 7, we played a 3, 5, 7, we would have a minor chord. And this is according to the major scale. We took the 4 and the 6 and then the 1 again, or the 8, however you want to call it, would create a major chord. And if we did this every single time, we'd have major, minor, minor, major, major, minor, diminished. Isn't that cool? Dude, when I saw this blew my mind. I was like, no, it can't be that easy. It is that easy. And this is 99% of music, friends. If you took all the songs of all the chords and all the songs out there, 99% of them are going to fit this scenario. I'm making that number up. It's going to be like almost all of them, okay? Every now and then there's going to be a chord that sits outside of this, and I teach about that as well. I teach it in the course. I teach it on YouTube. They're called borrowed chords. Where'd my pick go? Did you steal my pick, Emmy? All right, here's one. All right, so... yeah, so does that make sense? All right, here we go. Amber saying, can you teach us Hammer Smashed Face by Cannibal Corpse? I'll put it on the list, Amber. I'll put it on the list of violent songs to teach. Can you teach us Hammer Smashed Face by Cannibal Corpse? Were they from the 80s? They were like punk, right? Okay. Didn't you mention something yesterday about premiering a new video? Oh, yes. Thank you for reminding me, John. Yes. And guess what? I'm pretty sure, because I did text Marty last night, and I said, Marty, will you be in the chat today at 1:15? And he said, Eric, I'll be there. So there you go. Marty's going to be there in the chat today. Hopefully, God willing, in the creek don't rise. He will be there. I don't know what that means. I just know that Southern people say that. Yeah. So join us at 1:15 today. We're not going anywhere, by the way. I'm just giving you a little heads up. At 1:15, we will be premiering a video. It'll be an interview with Marty Schwartz. He was sitting right here. Yes, that Marty Schwartz. Big time Marty Schwartz was here in U Studios here. And friends, it was a blast. Super sweet guy. So there you go. All right, join us. We're going to premiere it. Marty will be there. I'll be there. We'll be chit-chatting with you guys. It'll be awesome. And in fact, if somebody has that link, you could post it now, and then you guys could open it up in another tab and then be available there for it when we do go live. Okay, so you don't forget about it. Cool? Okay. Sandy Lee is saying, do you usually teach the 9 essential chords before beginning music theory? Sandy's saying. Sandy, kind of, yes. I teach the 9 essential chords before we get into the thick stuff. Yeah, I do. I teach a little bit about, the fingers on the fretboard, how to know the names of the notes, and I might teach the major scale before. But other than that, we don't do it. We don't delve into too much theory before that. Okay. Hey, what's happening? That's right. Yeah, that's Marty. That's right. I'm a beginner. I have a big dilemma. Where do I rest my right wrist for reference to do lead picking? Friend? Boom, right there. Just on the guitar. You're thinking too much. Really, I mean that in a good way. I'm trying to relieve you. I'm trying to relieve you of this. You're thinking too much. This should be fun, man. Have you ever, if you've ever kissed somebody before, the first time you've kissed, if you were nervous about it and you're asking people, well, how do you kiss, right? And you're like, well, you pucker up your lips and it's like if you actually did according to what people tell you to do, it would be really, really goofy. Because you're like, yeah, it'd just be goofy because it's all mechanical because you're all up in your head, No, it's like you do what you feel, right? And so in the same way, when you're playing guitar, it should just be comfortable. Where does your hand naturally go? You're not going to put it here. It's not going to be here. It's not going to be here. You're not going to do that. It's just resting right there, just like, and then just play. Practice, practice, practice. I find that that sometimes people, they think that if you told them exactly what to do, that all of a sudden they're going to be like, oh my God. And they're just going to be like playing crazy. Hopefully no one will make a meme out of that one moment there. That would be a good one though. And so it does, but guitar's not like that. It's like, yeah, you got some basic ideas, you stay in the line, and the rest of it is really up to you. You just got to practice. But that's the good thing, is because you literally don't even need a guitar teacher. I mean, a good guitar teacher and good lessons will get you where you want to get to quicker, so you can just focus on the practice. But at the end of the day, it's all about practice. If you're not practicing, you could have a million amazing guitar teachers. You're not going to get anywhere. You've got to practice. Okay. Good. Amber, I've never kissed anybody except my mommy. Aww. May the Swartz be with you. Indeed. Babs, thank you. Just a small token of my appreciation for all you do. Thank you so much for the sweet donation, Babs. Very, very, very kind. Oh, okay. So Hank Williams said that. Said as a goodbye on his radio show, we'll see you next week, God willing, and the creeks doesn't rise. Yeah. Okay, I have a question. I just stopped playing with my guitar teacher. I was with him for 2 years, but I decided to start on my own. What advice do you give me to play? Annabelle, practice as much as you can. People say this. They say, how much do I need to practice? Wrong question, because you're already in a bad headspace because you're like, I don't really want to practice. Practice for as long as you want to practice. Some of us, get lost in this beautiful instrument for hours and hours and hours. There are times I sit down and I play and boom, it'll be midnight. And I'll be like, dude, I just sat down at 8 o'clock. What is going on? Back in the day when I was a teenager, I had more time. Not more time. I had less responsibilities. I would, same amount of time, by the way, I would play for 8 hours, 10, 16 hours. I just get lost in it. So practice is number one. Number two, Annabelle, if you're not going to have a guitar teacher, then get into UGS. Get into UGS Standard. At least start with the free stuff there. If you want to go further, then either come along the ride with me or find another teacher who teaches you something methodical, something step-by-step, something that you can go to anytime. I always tell folks, as far as UGS Pro, you could take 2 guitar lessons from me, and then you'd be done, at least as far as the money that you spent and those 2 lessons. Or you could literally have a lifetime of lessons with me for less than 2 lessons with me. Okay? So it's a pretty easy slam dunk. And plus, UGS Pro, we have other instructors that are teaching in there. RJ Ronquillo, Robbie Calvo, Jeff Duke. We have plans for a jazz course. Hopefully we can, talking with Corey Congilio. Hopefully we'll be in there. Chip Henderson, just amazing jazz professor here in Nashville. We're just constantly filling this thing up with amazing courses. So, and you get all those for free when they come out. Okay? There's no additional charges for those. When you're in Lifetime, you're in Lifetime. That's the way it works. Okay, now. Oh, another donation. So kind. Ken, thank you. Hank Williams said, yeah, right. God willing and the creeks don't rise. Ken, thank you so much for the kind donation and for letting us know about that. Beautiful. Daryl gets lost for hours on the guitar. Love it. Any tips on harmonizing solos? Do you hum and find the notes? Use certain intervals as guidelines like octaves, thirds, fifths? Bobby Z is saying. Bobby, get the mop. Here it goes. Mind-blowing time. Number one, you could just hum the notes. Yes. So you can do that, but you have to have an ear for that, and you have to develop that. It's not something you're born with, so definitely you can develop that. Dan, thank you for the donation. I'm 67, retired last year, always wanted to learn guitar, have been learning and playing every day since. Your training has been awesome. Woo, thank you so much, Dan, especially in this time. Keep the courses coming. I sure will, buddy. I sure will. And friends, I know a lot of people are stressed out. They're fearful. Hopefully we're coming out of this but this has been the best time for me personally. I've gone inward, as we all should be doing, gone inward and found, life is different when you're under a little bit of pressure, and it makes you rethink lots of things. And it's good. It's good if you allow the process to happen. It's a good thing. So anyhow, Dan, thank you so much for the kind donation. I really appreciate that. But there's nothing to fear, friends. Nothing to fear. There really is not. I'm not just saying that. We could get into the depths of that, but most of you don't want to hear me say that, talk about that. So I won't right now, maybe on another broadcast, but there is nothing to fear, right? So when we're harmonizing, what we're doing is we are playing thirds. 9 times out of 10, we're playing thirds. We can do fifths, We do fifths. We can do octaves. But thirds are what you're hearing. When you hear Iron Maiden or any of these metal groups or the Allman Brothers, when they're playing thirds and fifths and what have you, it sounds really big and full, but it's several guitars. Or Hotel California, friends. Hotel California. Or I think it's up here, but anyhow. Whatever it is, right? That's all harmony. They're harmonizing that. And so those are thirds, and there may be another guitar in there playing a fifth. And so 1, 3, 5, there's our chord. They're literally playing a chord, but it's amongst the 3 of them, just like an a cappella group might do. So what you want to do is this, Bobby. Find the key that you're in. If you're in the key of E minor or G, then you would use G major or E minor, however you want to look at it. Up here, so if my melody is this, If it's that, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up 3 scale steps up. What I mean by that is not 3 half steps or 3 whole steps, but it has to be within the scale, and that is my harmony note. So if I go, so what I'm going to do is this. I'm considering this one note. It doesn't matter what it is, but that's my note. I need to go up 2 scale steps. I said 3 scale steps. 2 scale steps is a third. So here's my note. Oh, I know what my 2 scale steps is because I just did it. So I'm going to go. So I'm going to play that note while I'm playing this note. So I find this note on another string. Now I can play both of them at the same time. And if I did this for this guy, so there's my harmony note. And if I found this note, here's my harmony note. So now together, and I could keep carrying that up, right? You've heard that one. So I covered this extensively inside of UGS Standard, harmonizing and finding the, in fact, we do it with triads. 1-3-5, 5-3-1, 3-5-1. Those all the different types across all the strings. Absolutely will put everything right underneath your fingers. Okay? All right. Okay, sorry, I was reading something that wasn't to me. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Marine Mama 62 is saying, thank you, Eric. Yes, this has been the best therapy for me personally. Love the crew. Thank you. I love that, Marine. For me, the guitar has mentally saved me so many times. I mean, to me, it's like a meditation. So I meditate. Just meditate straight up, like close my eyes and whatever, do yoga or whatever. But before I was meditating on the guitar, and I would just sit there, because when I'm thinking about playing music, I'm not thinking about anything else. It's like your mind can only think of one thing at a time. So by all means, it is maybe one of the best meditations ever, right? Yeah, faux show, as Froze says here. Okay. Ken is getting an SG. Beautiful. Legend saying, should I get a looper? Yes, get a looper pedal. Indeed. Get it, get it, get it. Where do you get the speed and rhythm while playing lead guitar? It's all practice. It's all practice. You know, when I hear the question like that, I think what you're saying is, in essence, it feels like what it's saying is, show me the lesson for that. But it's not a lesson for that. You know, it's just committing to playing. And then this stuff happens. It's like if you watch someone giving a great speech, you'd say like, well, how did you learn that? How did you learn to speak like that? Well, my mom taught me mama, and my dad taught me dada, and then I learned poo-poo, and then I learned whatever, and then I learned this, and then I learned that. So I learned all these words, and then I started reading, and then I started getting philosophies, then I started writing some speeches, then I joined Toastmasters, and the journey's long, right? So with guitar, it's a long journey, but that's the great thing, is that it's fun. If you could imagine your most favorite place that you ever wanted to go, but that there's actually not a destination, it's more just like it's the path to get there is the most fun place to go. That's what guitar is. You don't actually ever get to the place. You might, but it's going to constantly move, because you're going to be like, I actually want to go further. So you're just going to keep getting on the road and keep going further, because it's the journey that's so much fun. It's not like arriving there. Does that make sense, Jimmy? You will get the speed and you'll get the rhythm if you do the practice. And so the best way to get started is to start the beginner stuff, and then after the beginner stuff, the intermediate stuff, and after intermediate, the pro stuff, All right. Yeah, there is. There's a t-shirt in the gear store that says practice, practice, practice. Indeed. In fact, if one of my crew would drop that link in here, you guys can check that out if you guys want want to check out the new gear. Have I heard the new Strokes album, Guitar Through a Synthesizer? What's your thoughts? Froze, I love the Strokes. And I saw that they had a new album and I haven't listened to it yet. I gotta listen to it, but I love the Strokes. So yeah. Can you please have some lessons on setting up guitar tones? I do. I have all sorts of lessons on that. Lots of them inside of UGS Pro, but on YouTube you could search YourGuitarSage pedals, YourGuitarSage amps, or YourGuitarSage pedals. You're going to find some of those. Ah, good. Many aha moments today. Beautiful. Love that, Scott. Thank you. Eric, students practice, musicians play, play, play. Sometimes we just play to ourselves more slowly to work things out. How do you keep your calluses from peeling? Sandy, I don't know. I've never, they just don't peel. Maybe they did in the beginning, but they just don't peel, so I don't know. I can tell you that if they start doing that, the best thing to do, because people like to fiddle. My wife does this all the time. She peels her fingers till they're raw. I don't know. It's not good. Can't do that. So don't fiddle and clip any little extra that's off. Like if there's a little piece hanging, just clip it off so you're not tempted to keep playing with it and peel it. It's not going to peel off itself, right? It may peel back or not peel back a little bit, but it may come up a little bit. But the only peeling is you peeling it. It's not going to fall off by itself. So stop fiddling with it. Okay? All right, Brent Boardman. So you're saying if I want to be an Olympic skater, I should practice as much as the best ice skater out there. What? That is a message from God, friends. Did you hear what Brent just said? He's saying, so if you're saying I want to be an Olympic skater, I should practice as much as the best ice skater out there. Yes, that is definitely the answer, Brent. Thank you. Some confetti for you, my friend. Couldn't even say that any better. And thank you for the kind donation. Friends, I am telling you right now that if you want to play better than Hendrix, you can. If you want to play better than Django Reinhardt, you can. Better than Jimmy Page or Eddie Van Halen, okay? You can do it. There are players, arguably, that are better than them today. Arguably, you might not agree, and I mentioned those are some of my favorite players of all time. So if anybody gets to say that, I get to say that because they're my favorites. But I'm seeing younger and younger players playing beautifully. But we're living in a different time, so we're not so starved for Eddie Van Halen right now because Eddie Van Halen's been, and there's been a bunch of people copying him and everything else, so we're not so hungry that if a great guitar player like him hit the scene right now, we'd be like, yeah, cool. Yeah, I see 10 guys like that on Instagram. We're just inundated and saturated now with such great talent. But truth be told, if you want to become as good as one of those musicians, you can. Those players are happening all day long. But, like Brent said, you have to practice more than those people. Standing on the shoulders of giants. It means you start off not with Robert Johnson. You start off learning Eddie Van Halen licks. Then where do you go from there? That's your muse, right? You could go anywhere. So you do have to practice, though. So that's all available to you. You are an unlimited being. This is not poppycock or crazy woo-woo talk. If you think that, you probably ought not to be watching this video anyhow, because then you're not going to get much out of what I'm saying to you, because I definitely believe in you, whether you believe in yourself or not. I know this to be a fact because growing up, I'd try to learn a lick and I'd be like, oh, this is going to be so hard. I don't think I can do that. And I'd practice it because I just was so hungry for it. And then guess what? I'd be able to play it. And that happened a couple, 100 times. And then I'd go, wait a minute, this is happening every single time. So actually what that equals is I can do anything on the guitar if I do the practice to do it. And the answer is a resounding yes. There's just not even an argument there. If you prefer to be limited, then definitely think that way. Think that you can't do it. And you will be correct. And if you think you can do it, you will be correct. All right? Eric, I've tried out a lot of different methods to play the bar chords, but couldn't make it. Can you suggest something for that? Yes, Ashvin. Number one, go through the gauntlet. Go through the 30 lessons. Because if you do not learn the proper technique to play single notes, you for sure will not be able to play a chord. If you can't juggle with 2 balls, do you think adding 3 or 4 balls will help or hinder you? You got your answer. Start YourGuitarSage.com/30. Go through those because I teach techniques that bring you up to be able to play a chord, okay? And the F chord is definitely bar chords. If you play an F chord, you can play almost all the bar chords. We're going to be talking about bar chords this week, but we're going to be talking about it more from the theoretical point of view, not how you actually play it. So there's the understanding of it, and then there's actually being able to play it. 2 different things, and that's how I approach it, and I teach you both separately, but you can do it. Ashwin, on YouTube, search effing, E-F-F-I-N-G, F chord, effing F chord. But again, if you don't have the foundations down, then you go watch that video and you're like still not working. You're gonna be like, that guy's a joker, or I suck, or I'm not cut out for this. All lies, all myths, and I don't want you to believe myths. I want you to live in truth. So go through the 30 lessons, and then that's going to prep you for playing a chord. And then I'm going to show you that video, and you're going to get it, and you're going to be like, boom, I got it. Okay. Steven saying, I found you on Udemy. What's the difference between Udemy course and the UGS course? Steven, so glad you're here, buddy, and that you found me there. So Udemy, we've got the #1 guitar lesson course on Udemy, which is basically like paid YouTube. They have courses there, and it's amazing. And we have, I don't know, 500,000 people in that course. So that's bonkers, and I'm so excited about that. And so it's great. It's awesome. I'm not putting down my own course, and there's a reason it's #1 there. We've got a lot of people that really enjoy that course, but UGS, we stopped uploading videos to that specific Udemy course years ago. So it has what it has, and then that's it. UGS is constantly expanding. Not only that, you get all of 365 inside of UGS. So UGS is a much bigger platform. Many more videos. We have courses from other instructors like RJ Ronquillo, Robbie Calvo, Jeff Duke, and more to come. We have 600 jam tracks inside of UGS. We've got live broadcasts only for UGS folks. We don't do that with Udemy. There's way too many folks. We can't do that. We have 500,000 people there. So it's a much bigger, hardier course. Stephen, what I suggest you do is get in, do the $1 demo. So you can try out everything I'm talking about right now, all the pro stuff. You can try it out for $1. I don't know if we have the link for that. If Jason's on the chat right now, he'll post that. But literally, you can get in the whole system for $1. 30 days, try it all out. Get out before 30 days if you don't want to, if you don't want to commit. If you're like, this is way too much, I'm learning way too much, it's not cool, I'm in a rock band now, I'm making lots of money, I don't want to at all to pay more than $1. You've helped me, thank you very much. If you want to do that, you can do that, and that's totally fine. At least you'll have tried it, and that's all I'm asking for you to do is to just try it. But Stephen, that'd be a good idea if you did that. And then you can see what I'm talking about, okay? Yes, Rick. Thank you for that. And he's talking to Ashwin here. Yes, Marty has a bar chord tip in the video that's coming up, and it's a really good tip. I want you guys to check that one out. I think that's number 5 of his 5 tips. So this interview that I do, which in just a minute here, I'm going to go a little bit longer with you today, and then we'll start heading over to that other video, okay? I talked to Marty. I asked him about his 5 best things that he could be showing us for beginners or just for folks, just in general. And one of the things he talks about, he's got a bar chord tip that's very, very helpful. So check that out, okay? Okay. Is that 30 lessons course on YouTube? No, it's not. It's only inside of UGS Standard, and you can find that at YourGuitarSage.com/30. The whole point why we have it there is because you're going to get distracted on YouTube. There's this video, there's that, there's this advertisement, it's ad-free. I can also give you all the PDFs that I want and all the things that are going to help support you. We can't do that on YouTube. It doesn't work, okay? So YourGuitarSage.com/30. Huh. Yeah. Oh, I love it. Scott said it right here. Henry Ford, whether you think you can or you think you cannot, you're right. Someone out there scratching their head right now. Think about it. Okay. Eric, what are the top chords that I need to know to be a good rhythm guitarist? AKW, you need to know the 9 essential chords, and then you need to know how to use your capo. Boom. Here are the 9 essential chords. Take a picture of that. Take a screenshot of that. Or, better yet, get inside the Unstoppable Guitar System /30 and you can download that PDF for free. Know those chords first and then know how to use your capo as I taught you today and as I teach you further in the course. And then the bar chords, there's some great bar chords in there as well. Major, minor, 7th. If you know those are the main ones you need to know. The day when you get bar chords, you don't even realize how you got it. Yeah. Is there going to be a replay with Marty? Stafford, it's a YouTube video. So you can stop it, pause it, rewind it. You can watch it again many, many times. All that. So it will replay as many times as you press that play button. It is available for you, sir. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right, you guys have some great questions today. What are the benefits of jamming with others, and would you have a session? Dennis, what are the benefits? The benefits of jamming with others, there's so many. For the same reason that there's lots of things in life that are better shared with another person. One of those things are conversation, right? Alone time is awesome. Alone time is amazing, and there's many people that can't be alone. They should be alone. You can learn a lot by being alone, but there's also a lot to learn, especially with being like a good friend or a lover or something that you can iron sharpens iron, right? Where you can learn from each other. So in the same way with music, when you're working with somebody else, they're going to be thinking about things differently. They're going to be looking at things differently, different opinions, and if you're not closed-minded, which is a great asset, you will learn from them because they're giving you all sorts of free information by just sitting in front of them, okay? Everybody who sits in this chair who I interview, I learned something from. When Marty was here, I learned something from him. When I interviewed Andy, I learned something from him. Joe Robinson, Corey Congilio, RJ Ronquillo, Robbie Calvo, Brett Papa, like all these guys. We got a video coming from Gretchen Men, amazing guitar player. And whenever I'm sitting down with these people, I learn so much from them. So it's literally, you're just mind melding. You're sharing these bits and pieces. And every time you learn a new thing, you stack it up inside and it makes you a better player, okay? Brad's saying, watch the Andy Guitar interview. I highly recommend it with others as he is #1 for most intermediate players. Indeed, he's amazing, great guy. And he's a great teacher as well. Okay. All right, let's get to a couple more here, and then we'll drop that link and we'll head over there. Okay. In fact, I'll tell you what. Let me take 2 more, and then we'll get in there. Okay. 2 more. Look at this. Clapton said in a recent interview because he rarely plays anymore, fingers got soft, and when he does a few shows, his fingers hurt. Yeah, indeed. And what I find is that if I don't practice enough, that happens to me too. Now that he remembers everything, right? You play Layla 7,000 times, you're not going to forget Layla, but it's still, you got fingertips, right? It hurts. So you got to get that stuff, yeah. You gotta prime that stuff all the time, okay? Okay, Dawn, my husband plays guitar, but he plays by ear. I want to know the proper way to learn. Okay, Dawn, there's nothing wrong with playing by ear. That's how I started off. That's how most guitar players start off. But when you do that, oftentimes it's survival. So you're just trying to make things work with just your ear. Well, that's only one sensation. Why not use your eyes? Why not allow your brain to do a little work for you? You know? All sorts of ways to learn. So, number one, get in the Unstoppable Guitar System today for free. YourGuitarSage.com/30. The third link below is going to get you access to that. And that will be the proper step-by-step way to do this. I literally, it was almost 30 years before I built that program. So if you can imagine having waited 30 years to build that program, having taught tens of thousands of lessons over decades, that's when I decided to build this program. I had it pretty much set. I knew the way I was going to teach it because I had done this process so many times. I refined it so much. That's why it's step by step, and it doesn't leave any stone unturned. So, friend, that's what, Dawn, you want to get in there. And then I also teach you how to listen, how to play by ear. Indeed, okay? All right, let's take one more question, and then we're going to put that link up. I see Emmy's done that already, but we're going to do it again, and then you guys can get in there and you can check it out, okay? Okay. Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you, Indy Dead. Some of the guests Eric has in UGS Pro will take you as deep as one needs to go down the rabbit hole. A great example is RJ Ronquillo's killer slide class that will keep any level of player busy. Indeed, for years, I dorked around with slide. Didn't get it. Watching his course as we were editing it, got it. I'm like, okay, now it makes sense. I mean, I could have done it myself, but it would have taken, I tried. It's not to say that I couldn't have tried harder and gotten it, because you know the answer there, it's always yes. But this made it so much easier. Okay? Iron sharpens iron, indeed, Lisa. Yes. Okay, I said I'd get to one more question. Any essential rules for making tonal key, scale, modulations in music, for example, starting from E minor, going to F minor and F harmonic, then going back to E minor? Chris, I tell you what to do. Get inside of UGS Pro for 30 days. Check out my whole system on the Circle of Fifths. The Circle of Fifths will teach you what keys work best together. And in a short answer is, in any key, if you go up a perfect fifth, or down a perfect fourth, that is going to be the key that is most associated with the key that you're working in. It's a lot of times where we borrow chords from. So if you're in the key of G, the next easiest key to play in would be D, at least in regards to those being as closely related as possible. Also, you go up a perfect fourth or a perfect fifth up. Those two keys are going to be as close to possible as far as changing keys. But check out that series that I have for you inside of UGS Pro, all on the Circle of Fifths. Cool? All right. Now, my friends, very quickly, what we're going to do is we're all going to head over to this video that I did with Marty, okay? I don't know how many of us are in here right now, but nonetheless, let's all head over there. Let's give Marty a big, warm welcome. Say hi to him. Ask him questions. I'm going to be in the chat. I'm going to be answering your questions. This is the time to literally touch Marty and touch the cloak and talk to him and ask him questions, and I'm going to do the same, okay? Friends, thank you so much for the donations today. If you haven't already, very quickly before you go ahead and hit thumbs up. If you haven't already, if you have, don't do it again. But do share it. Share the video out there with someone who needs help, who needs some love right now, needs some good vibes. I would appreciate that so much. Also subscribe, hit the notification bells. You came loaded today. Awesome. Great questions. You guys rocked. Tomorrow, number system. Thursday, caged and bar concepts. Friday, scales over chords. Friends, you guys are amazing. I love you so much. Get in the Unstoppable Guitar System today. It's there available to you for free. Third link below, YourGuitarSage.com/30. Let's head over to that link right now. Say hey to Marty for me. Let's go. This thing's going to premiere in 6 minutes. I'll see you there.